Okay, I'm gonna get started, everybody. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending NYSTRA's 25th Annual Multi-Day Conference. My name is Jessica Andrianos, and I am the moderator for today's session. If you have any questions about conference-related issues, please message me directly in the chat, and I will reply to you. If you have any questions for the presenter, you can either hit the the high five hand up raise button, or you can chat in the chat. All right, Marty, I'll help you if we need to stop you for a minute.
Okay.
Please make sure to have your mic muted when you are not talking, when you're not asking a question or not participating in any discussion, so that you're not interfering with the presenter or other people talking. If you are seeking CEUs for the session, you will receive 0.15 CEUs. By completing this session, there are 2 requirements. You are asked to write your name in the chat bar, as well as fill out the attestation form at the conclusion of the session, and then email it to the nystra2021@gmail.com. Okay, so you don't need to send it immediately when the session is over. Just make sure you get it in before June 13th. If anyone has any questions, let me know. Okay, so today we are here to see Marty's presentation. His presentation is Leisure Equals All Kinds of Wellness. This is Marty Golub, CTRS. I might have said that wrong. Was that right? Marty's been retired a little over 3 years. He currently volunteers a little bit where he used to work. He also is contracted with Lifespan in Rochester to provide wellness sessions to the seniors in the area. He worked in outpatient mental health at Rochester Rehabilitation from 1985 until his retirement. He has been certified since 1990, and he decided to stay in the field because he loves TR and mental health recovery work. So here's Marty, everybody.
Good evening. It's nice to see you, everybody. And thanks for coming. I'm really excited, and I'm a little nervous too, so bear with me. I really like the theme of this conference. Isn't this a groovy shirt from the 60s? Talk about a blast from the past. This is what I feel like I'm radioactive. Don't light a match around me, because I remember I got my first Paisley shirt when I was in 5th grade in Mrs. Skolnick's class. And Mrs. Skolnick was a substitute a couple of years before that. And she was talking about, so I must have been like 9 or 8 or 9. And she was talking about the year 2000. And I thought, the year 2000, I'll be 44 years old in 2000. That is so far off. I don't have to worry about that. And here it is 21 years later. Time really, that's why I love this theme, Back to the Future, because we're all kind of traveling through time. Did anyone see the movie when Peggy Sue got married? Anyway, Peggy goes back in time and she visits her grandparents who are still alive. And the grandmother says, Peggy, we're all traveling through time. And this is how I feel with TR. I feel when I started my TR career and started learning, those principles have stayed me throughout time. And I was fortunate enough to be able to use those TR principles throughout my whole career and always go back and forth with them. And so I'd like to cover those during the presentation, and I hope you enjoy it. One of the reasons I love this conference theme is because this fall marks my 40th year in TR. I went back to school in the fall of 1981. I had done the camp work. I know a lot of people started out in camps, didn't we? Day camps, YMCA, overnight camps. I got my degree in psych. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. So I checked out the outdoor rec program, and that sounded nice. But then I talked to TR, and it sounded so good. It sounded like just a nice fit, because I loved recreation, and I basically just wanted to help people. So it's kind of this going back and forth through time, traveling through time. My TR anniversary, just very excited. And I do get kind of hyper, so bear with me. Here's the learning outcomes, and if anybody wants a full copy of the presentation, do they email me, Jess, or do they contact you guys? Oh, I think.
You want me to pull it up? Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. If folks want a copy of the presentation, they can email me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. And we'll just type in my email in the chat. I'm an old relic, I've never done a PowerPoint, so there will be no slides. So what I did when I was doing this presentation, instead of doing it with outline and bullet points, I typed out like every word, just about, until the end when I got tired. But let me go over the learning objectives first. Oh, here it is. Let me go over thank you, Jeff. Let me go over the learning objectives first. And one, to be able to define at least two purposes of TR service, which should be easy because we already know that. But I'm hoping that with this presentation and your thinking, you have a lot more than two purposes. To be able to state the 7 parts of the definition of leisure as provided by the speaker, and I'll be going over that in detail. And I know everyone knows the definition of leisure. To be able to understand at least 3 methods to assist people in their development of a satisfying leisure lifestyle. And again, I know people got this, but hopefully through our discussion today, and I welcome your questions and comments, we can even come up with more for you. To identify at least 4 ways that leisure contributes to overall wellness. I know you know at least 40 ways, and I hope after this presentation, you have a few more. To identify at least 3 techniques or strategies to incorporate into one's work as a CTRS, and to identify at least 2 changes one would like to make in their own leisure lifestyle. I know everyone has wonderful techniques and strategies, and hopefully through this discussion, you can add a new strategy or say, I already do that one, but maybe I can do it a little bit more or in a little bit different way. So those are the learning objectives, and if you've presented, you know, this is what we need to present to NYSTRA, to ATRA, so we can get our sessions approved. So I wanted you to know what you were getting into. So those are our objectives. And in the NCRT's job analysis area, this presentation is under the foundational knowledge category, background and theories, and concepts, if anybody needs to know that for any reason. I'd like to address these goals by using 2 things, your TR inspirations and your TR guiding principles. If people would like, get a sheet of paper and a pencil. And on one page, write TR inspirations, and this is optional. If you just want to think it, that's fine too. And on the other page, just write TR guiding principles. Now the TR inspirations are just that. What has inspired you in TR? And it could be like my whole college career, my first job, my internship supervisor, this conference I went to, a beautiful weekend I had with friends. It wasn't work, but were kind of like TR epiphanies. And these TR epiphanies and these inspirations could be a single moment in time or across several years. Like I know for me, one of my TR inspirations is my whole college career. It was like a massive TR inspiration. It's just wonderful because I learned so much stuff and I got to use it in my work. With the TR guiding principles, these are the principles that we use in our work. And I know many of us also, do you find that you apply those TR principles to your own leisure life sometimes? I know I have. So the TR principles I'm going to go over to think, what do I use in my work? Because they're different from Marty's, because Marty worked in outpatient mental health with adults, and I work in a different setting with different people. So my TR guidelines and principles might be a little different than his. So hopefully these could come more, shed to light as I go over stuff. Is everybody doing okay? Okay. Thank you. When I was thinking about this presentation, I first thought, are people going to say, are you kidding me? He's defining leisure. He's talking about the purpose of TR. This is really, I covered that in intro. And other people might say, you know what? Thank you for doing this. It was review, but sometimes I need to be reminded of our foundations because I'm so busy at work. Aren't you guys busy at work? I remember when I was working, I see Tasha shaking her head. I remember anytime someone burped, we had to write a progress note. It was like Office of Mental Health. You just have a lot to do. And who could be involved in, well, let me remember everything I learned in, theories and practices back in 1980, whatever. That's me. But so hopefully, I hope that you enjoy the presentation. I'm just checking my notes. So I was thinking of tying this information into the theme of the conference. I thought, how can I bring this information back to the future or back to now from where it started from? What are my inspirations for what I do and how I do it? And do I carry those TR inspirations and principles with me in my group work, in my individual work, and in my own leisure life? I know I do it with my retired buddies. I'm the scheduler and planner, and they say, we'll just do whatever you tell us. And it works. So as I talk, please think of your TR inspiration from your TR past, your TR today, and to your TR future. And also, what are those TR principles that guide your work and your personal leisure life? You can either do both or one. I know I have this new principle. It's like, I'm going to try anything new that I can as long as it's not dangerous. Because a lot of the folks I worked with, doing new stuff was very challenging. So even do it like a new recipe, a new restaurant, hiking in a new park, talking to a different type of person of a different age, even those little new things. So now if someone says, do you want to go Italian or do you want to go Ethiopian? I'm like, let's go Ethiopian. I know what Italian tastes like. If you go Ethiopian and you're sensitive in the mouth, ask him to go light on the pepper. My tongue was burning for an hour and a half. Okay. Also, how have these inspirations and your TR principles contributed to people's functioning, wellness, and happiness, and to yours? In other words, the techniques we use, I felt were so helpful to me in my work. I hope they're helpful to you in your work. Just like Susan said at the keynote, if you were there, that we stress across all the functional domains. And I felt that me as a TR specialist had a leg up on some of the other professionals, as dedicated and wonderful as they were, because we really took this holistic look at the person, because we're the people persons. So I was looking, as I looked through my TR life, and I hope as you look through yours, that you say, I'm carrying a lot of this stuff with me, and there's still new inspirations developing based on what I'm learning through the folks I'm working with and the groups I'm leading and the individual work I'm doing. So this is what kept me connected to TR, that foundation back in the 80s when I was in school, back when I was starting out, and then I was, as I was learning along the way, and I hope it did the same for you. And also TR's connection to wellness, all kinds of wellness. Even in retirement, I've been learning more stuff. I'll get into that a little later about how I knew TR was always great, and now I've even discovered it's even more powerful in terms of our happiness, our joy, and our physical health, and even our cardiovascular health. I'd like to go over one of my first guiding principles, and this is called content and process evaluation. Has anyone ever had this in class yet, the content process evaluation? Well, let me explain it, because then you say, oh yeah, I remember. Whenever I lead a group or present at a conference, I'm hoping two things. One, I hope it's interesting. I hope people are riveted and they pay attention and they're glad they came. And that refers to process. It was organized, he was engaging, he cared about what he was talking about, and he was good, or she was good. And that is more the process evaluation. It went well. The content evaluation is that, you know what? Was this stuff usable? Is the stuff that we're talking about relevant to me? Can I use this outside of this session? Did this stick with me? And that would be the content evaluation. Has anyone ever gone to a movie and you liked the movie, but then the next day you forgot the movie, even though you're entertained during the movie? Yes, I see some people shaking heads. And then there's other times you go to a movie and the characters stick with you and you think of them like weeks afterwards. This is how I think a lot of us want our groups to go. We want this, we want the skills that we're teaching people to stick. We want it to have some meaning and for them to use those skills and those strategies outside of the rehab or the treatment environment. This was actually on the CTRS test. I'm like, yeah, I actually studied something and remembered something that was on the test. I have a confession to make. I've taken the test 4 times. Now you're probably thinking, he flunked 3 times and then he passed. No, I took it 4 times, but I passed it 4 times. I didn't have CEUs along the way. It's like every 5 years for a while I had to take the test.
I was actually thinking that that was pretty expensive. That was what I was thinking. If you took it 4 times.
Well, I got certified in 1990. The test came out in 91. I took it in 91, 96, 2001. Then the next 2 CEUs. Work got so busy, I didn't go to enough conferences. I had to take the test in 2016. I was a CTRS for 25 years. I thought, what if I flunked? How friggin' embarrassing. I'd have to have my supervisor sign my progress notes. But I passed. I was like, I think, and you know why I passed? Because I had good college education. I paid attention. I went back to school when I was 25, so I paid more attention. I wasn't that good of an undergraduate in psych, but when I went back to school, and I felt blessed and lucky that I went to a good TR school and that I was able to use skills and principles of TR in my work, and I was fairly autonomous in doing that. So it was wonderful. Let's see. I'm just checking because I'm kind of going not off script. Okay. And I'm even lucky to use some of those skills or a lot of those skills now in my volunteer work at where I used to work and the senior presentations I'm doing. And still learning along the way, which is really joyful. I love the Cortland Conference. I have to admit, the Cortland Conference was one of my TR inspirations. At the 2016 Cortland Conference, I was sitting at one of the sessions and I said, I know I'm retiring in a year and a half. I don't want to leave this. And it was then I made that concrete decision that I was going to stay active professionally, just not 50 hours a week. You know, does anybody work at a job there's overtime work but no overtime pay? That was what I had to do. Yes. A few more principles that were really guiding for me. And one does relate to content and process evaluation, especially the content. When I was in school, they told us about skill generalizability and the carryover value of activities. In other words, when we're doing groups with people, are we doing things in my setting, and I know everyone's setting is different, am I doing things with people that they can use in their real life? Whether it's a skill or a strategy or an activity. So yes, I know we have special events, and if we get free tickets to the circus that the folks would not ordinarily be able to afford, of course we take people to the circus. I mean, what a wonderful opportunity. But do we really focus the core of our work on things that people will actually do outside of our services? Skill generalization and the carryover value of activities. And I'm not sure if other professions get that kind of stuff in their schooling. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I love those 2 principles. Yes.
Hey, Marty, I wanted to mention too, I went to a training recently about remembering to have goals for your program and to do your program off goals that you make. So you have like a direction too. Because sometimes I feel like, I know I've been guilty of this before too. I'm not going to say I haven't, where group is happening in a couple minutes and I'm like scrambling for something last minute. And I'm like, does this have to really do with what I'm doing today? You know, so I went to a training and it was like really reiterated the part of like really purposely planning around goals of what you want the program to be and teaching people skills to be successful when they leave, not just teaching stuff where they're not going to remember it, but teaching them things that are important for them to use later.
Exactly. The way the way that outpatient mental health programs morphed over the years, and I don't know if anyone does work in outpatient mental health, the last 7 or 8 years, I worked at the same agency my whole career. I worked at a PROS program, stands for Personal Recovery Oriented Services, and we had to have curriculum for every group. So we had to have group sessions and goals and methods and the whole curriculum plan. So Jess, that kind of met the needs for that, because I know what it's like to scramble with the group. Like, what am I going to do today? You know, or I didn't have time to plan this one. So I know about group goals, and it was a lot of extra work to make those curriculums up. But boy, how much more meaningful when you set those goals and those objectives, because it encourages us to think about the services we're providing so that the services have more meaning. In addition to being interesting and engaging, and then being usable for the people. I also like this one, about the content evaluation. This is what made me, TR is what made me evaluate groups with my people. I work with folks that I could do this with. And so many times after every group or every other group, I would say, how are we doing? Do you still like the warm-up exercises? Is this meeting your needs? Do I talk too much? Do you need to tell me to shut up? Do you need to say, shut up, Marty? And it was so great when one of my people said, Marty, shut up. And you know, I felt so good about that because they felt comfortable enough to tell me that you talk too much, or no, we didn't like this part, or could you add this, or we like that. I had one person, one of my coworkers, social worker, hardworking. He was a therapist. I was like a counselor, for lack of a better term. So sometimes we'd share the same client. I would do the nuts and bolts with the client, treatment plan, progress notes, scheduling, and he was their therapist. And I always trusted him because he's a hardworking person. And I said, yeah, Daniel, I evaluate groups with people all the time. Like in some groups, like every session, I ask people, how's it going? And then he looks at me and goes, but if you ask them what's wrong with the group, they might tell you. I'm like, that's the whole purpose. It's not like they're saying they hate your guts. It's just they're suggesting improvements so that what you've set out to do in the group is actually helpful to them and interesting. Interesting, the process, helpful, the content. And this is all because of TR. All because of TR. And I worked with a lot of social workers on it was an interdisciplinary team. A few art therapists, a few CTRSs, a few people with masters in counseling, and a lot of MSWs. And I think that I evaluated groups more than any other staff person, as wonderful as that staff was, because of the TR education. I wanted feedback from the folks. I wanted them to tell me. I remember one time I looked at a group, because some of our groups were verbal. It was a better socialized group. I looked at the group, I said, are you guys as bored as I am? Does this group suck or what? And so, because they were all so quiet. And one person raised her hand and she says, this is my favorite group. I guess they were just having an off day or something. So it's just good to have that group process where we're partnering with the people. And I feel that TR really encouraged that we're partners with people. And that's what I liked about TR, that it really stressed that from the beginning. So some of my guiding principles, like it says over here, skill generalization, carryover value of activity, and that strong group process. It's organized, it's fun, and it's meaningful. And people evaluate it with you along the way when they can. Or sometimes we have to evaluate it if the population can't, or if the person can't. You can kind of tell what people like, I think, right? Okay. This is one of my inspirations. I go to my mother's, this is a first inspiration for the presentation. This is for my mother's Senior Center Humanities class in Morton Grove, Illinois. And I go up to the class when I'm there. Of course, they haven't had class in a while because of COVID. And I've spoken at the class about leisure and all sorts of mental health stuff. But anyway, I went one day as a guest, and this nice lady named Molly from the Illinois State Department of Health was giving a presentation on seniors' brain health, not related to TR. And she says, these are the 6 things people need to do to have good brain health as a senior. 1, good eats, the old heart healthy diet. 2, good sleeping habits, and then the strategies to enable one to sleep well. 3, regular exercise. All of a sudden, my TR head starts going ding, 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 ding. Don't you guys have a TR head? Whenever you hear anything related, I call it a TR head. It's just kind of woven into my persona. Then she goes on to the next thing, effective stress management. My TR head goes ding, 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 ding. Healthy social life and connections. And then something that challenges your brain daily. I'm like, this is like a TR? This is like a TR class. She's talking about senior brain health. She's not a rec therapist. And in terms of seniors' brain health, and then I'm thinking, how about everyone's brain health? The exercise, the stress management, the social connections, of course, and doing something every day that challenges your mind, which might be more specific to seniors, which is people my age, if you haven't figured it out. I'm a senior citizen. So here I am at this talk about seniors' brain health. It's not a TR talk, and I'm thinking, this is TR. And my TR head's thinking, because I was still working at the time. This is great for groups. This is great for my life. But I want to go a little deeper. I want to go a little deeper, especially with those items 3 to 6, starting with the exercise. When she said regular exercise, all of a sudden, doesn't your mind start ticking? Different types of exercise, traditional, non-traditional, places to do it with, who to exercise with, scheduling it in. Then my general activity level. Will I exercise a little in the morning traditionally? Will I dance around in the evening? Will I take a walk? Will I stretch? Will I yoga? I don't think non-TR people think like this. Everyone says regular exercise, 30 minutes a day or 150 minutes a week, and you're good. And they go, yeah, I know, I've heard that 100 times. But the TR in us says, okay, let's go deeper. Let's see how we can weave this into someone's life by identifying ways that they do want to be physical, and it doesn't have to be traditional exercise. Or maybe we can introduce new things to them about exercise. So that's the TR head. I think we go deeper, don't we? Please, someone shake a head. The second thing, effective stress management. Oh my God, working in mental health and in TR, what a blessing. Stress management, using stress management techniques not only to handle a crisis or when we're stressed, but also to use the same techniques to keep a good mood alive so that we can ward off stress when it happens to us. And I call these healthy life habits, and I know other people have. So in other words, that proactive part of therapeutic recreation. Let's not wait for bad stuff to happen to intervene. Let's intervene to keep the good stuff going. I started brainstorming with my folks in stress management and myself using leisure activity categories. Sometimes I get very categorized. So if I'm splitting up leisure into social leisure, physical leisure, relaxing leisure, creative leisure, community leisure, outdoor leisure, spiritual leisure, and then identifying activities I like in each category, I can do the same thing for stress management techniques because so many of the stress management techniques are leisure. What is it that you do physically to help you with stress? Socially, relaxing, spiritually, creative, outdoor. And then, of course, we have some of the traditional, problem-solving techniques, getting support. But so many of the stress management techniques were leisure. And then to reinforce with people, you don't need to engage in these activities just when we're stressed. Let's keep the good moods alive. You got a good mood, baby. Let's keep it alive. And a healthy leisure lifestyle, I tell you, it got me through COVID. And I'm not happy like this all the time. I am happy to be with you guys. But I get my blues. They really suck. And I know that my leisure has helped me insurmountably with the anxieties that I have. Does anybody else get anxieties? Get the stomach? I get the stomach. My stomach starts to hurt. It's like, oh my God, not again. So the stress management techniques and that leisure activities are stress management, more so than anything. And I don't think any other profession recognizes this like us, because this is our business. You know, the benefits are endless. If I change my name ever, that's what I'm changing my name to. The benefits are endless. I love that phrase. I love that phrase. If anybody has any comments or you want to interrupt me or argue with me, you know, just please jump in. The healthy social life and connections. When we hear healthy social life, I know I'm dinging, my head's dinging. Friends, social life, places to go, groups to join, scheduling it in more, friendship development, social skills, creating a social network, combining my friends and the places I go to, building social confidence, ways to meet people. I don't know of any other profession when you say social life, when all that stuff just comes, I just start thinking of it. You know, people say, you need to be, you know, they go, you need to be connected with other people. Why? Well, you'll feel better. Well, that tells me absolutely nothing. Let's break it down so we can work on some stuff that you need, for God's goodness sake. I got this from an old TR assessment. This TR assessment was called the Screening for Leisure Education Services. It's so old, they did it on a ditto. Does anybody know what a ditto is? You youngsters? You know, you crank it out and you smell the purple ink. This is how old this was, but what it did was it broke down social life into all these areas so that you could actually say, you know what? These folks need a lot of help with the social confidence, the social participation, making friends. Going to a place with more than 5 people freaks people out, or they don't have experience with that. This is where the folks are. You just can't say get a social life. So I felt that TR and looking at things completely and us digging deeper was very helpful. And I didn't think that other professions did it. Like no one else. Like when I was working, we came up with our own groups, and a lot of people looked for a book that dealt with challenges or stresses or whatever. And I look for different articles. Give me articles with skills. 20 ways to make a friend. 20 ways to beat the blues. Let's give people what they can use. 20 places to hike in Monroe County. Let's make stuff usable. Let's dig deeper. TR gave me that dig deeper. It really did. The next thing Molly told about challenging our brains daily. You get the picture. Leisure challenges our brain, and do we schedule in tasks in our leisure? I know we do it for our folks, but do we schedule in leisure? Maybe I'll try something a little new to challenge the brain a little bit. You know, and what benefit do I get from this activity? Will I choose an activity based on the benefit only? I know we do it for the folks. You know, people need to have better endurance, so let's do exercise groups. And I know some of us say for ourselves, I need a break, so I need to go out. I need to be calm, so I'm going to take a hike. But can we go a little bit deeper? I need to handle change a little bit better. Maybe I should see if I can find a leisure activity to do that. I need to work on my self-esteem, me personally. Maybe I need to find a leisure activity that helps me with that. Let me think. Put my thinking cap on. Choosing our activities, not only based on the fact that we like the activity or want to do it, but also because we have identified the benefit of it. It's kind of a new thing. Because I know we do it for physical stuff, you know, need to get in shape, I'll exercise. But how about, you know what? Oh, let me give you a little example. I'm on this bowling committee, and we have a tournament every year, except for the last 2 years, of course. So guess who's the MC at the banquet with, you know, 150 people, 180, and we do little song parodies for, you know, like the welcoming song and the booby prize song. And you know who sings it, and you know who choreographs the guy behind me. I have these guys behind me, and they do these little dances, and I do the exercise moves. You know, okay, guys, sidestep 8 times, swim, backstroke, do your hands like this. And I'm singing stuff like, you're gonna bowl better tomorrow, you'll be bowling stripes and spares tomorrow. Anyway, one of my friends is in the chorus behind me, and I said, Ted, you have a nice voice, maybe you could sing with me. He goes, oh no, I couldn't, I'd be so nervous. I'm just nervous dancing behind you. I'm like, well, if you're nervous about doing it, why do you do it? He goes, because it's helping me with my social confidence. I joined the little course because and I thought, oh my God, TR, Ted picked being on we call it the committee course. Ted picked being on the committee course because it helps with the social anxiety. So I'm wondering if we do this for our folks, we plan leisure activities that help them address their barriers or to develop skills, can we do it for us too? For ourselves. Think about it. It's kind of a new twist on things. I will choose an activity based on the benefit, and the benefits are endless. Like even small. I'll talk to a new person. I'll listen to new music. I'll read a new genre of book. I'll start reading in general. I'll just do some stuff different that's outside of my box, as long as it's safe. As long as it's safe. The second principle that really stuck with me was the definition of leisure. And this is where our objectives come in. The definition of leisure has been a guiding force for me in my work because I wanted to assist people in helping them have a better leisure life. Well, if I wanted people to improve their leisure life or be more satisfied with their leisure life, I felt that I should be able to define what a leisure life is. You need to improve your leisure. Well, what's leisure? I better have a darn good definition and maybe a couple conceptual ways to define leisure so people know what they were working on. And so I could also communicate this information to coworkers, family members, and collateral contacts, people from other agencies who work for our folks. So I'm seen as an equal professional, and that my work is valued by the team. I felt it was so helpful to be articulate in this. So let's look at this definition theoretically. And I know everyone's heard it, and so many people know it. We know the first part of the leisure definition is time. Obligation versus free time. Doctor's appointment, not leisure. Picnic, leisure, because it's a free time. But we know it goes a little deeper than that, don't we? Because if the picnic stinks, it's not leisure, right? Because that state of mind part of the definition. Anyway, but let's look at this time thing a little bit more deeper. If you're doing laundry and you like it, can it be leisure? Or is it still work? If you're doing cooking because you have to eat or feed your family, but you love cooking, is it free time or is it an obligation? And you're thinking, he's nuts. What is he thinking about? But this is what I asked my group and myself to think. It's like, you know what? If I'm doing laundry and I like it, it is what it is. It's a work task that I like. But every time I clean my house, I play music. Every time I have to scrub a tub, I put on waltzes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Very easy. And then it is what it is. It's a work task, and I've infused leisure into it. Anytime I'm prepping for a party, I'm turn on the Motown. I'm infusing leisure into the work activity. And instead of saying, oh God, is it work? Is it obligation? Is it work? Is it free time? Is it leisure? It can be both. It can be a fun work activity. I can infuse leisure into obligations because that's the way life is. I'm weaving leisure into my life, and I understand the difference between free time and obligations. And I only think that TR people think like this. So the next time you're doing something that you don't like, say, how can I make it like her?
I do that too, but I don't listen to Motown.
Oh God, Motown, I love it. I wanted to try it for Gladys Knight because I love Gladys Knight. So that's in terms of the free time. I know that a lot of times you just say, okay, leisure is time and it's free time. Okay. The second one is activity. traditional activities and non-traditional activities. And the use of the leisure activity categories really helped me a lot in this. We had this assignment at school. We had to envision a leisure program. So I said, well, why don't I do the day camp? I split the day camp up into compartments of the things that the kids did: swimming, nature, sports and games, trips, and one more that I can't think about. I can't remember, it's a long time ago. But anyway, and then under each category, like sports and games, I wrote down everything that the boys like to do. And under nature and hiking, wrote down that outdoor camp stuff activity. Crafts, the crafts that I could do with the guys. Those were the days when you had like groups of all boys or all girls. And this way I was able to schedule by brainstorming the activities in every category. And I felt that that really helped me out at work too. That I had a well-balanced, sports, physical, leisure ed, stress management to enable people to deal with leisure, crafts and arts, and that way I could plan my program. Very helpful, very concrete. Other people were better at it, but I felt I needed to be concrete and split things up to help me brainstorm possibilities. And I also looked at my own leisure. This is how I felt it was so important to look at my own leisure. I looked and assessed my own leisure. Then I felt I could transfer it on to other people when I began working. So in college, I looked at my own leisure and I thought, boy, this is pretty bleak. The only things I do is I go to work out in the gym and I jog sometimes, and then I go out and party a little bit. And that's about it. I'm not reading other stuff. I'm not doing anything cultural. I'm not purposely going to movies and entertainment and music. But I'm wondering if I had the TR education in the past, if I would have been a little bit more diverse in my leisure life and look for opportunities. And also, I've listed some of the leisure categories here if you want to take a look, or email me for the presentation. And as my life continued, and this list that you see on the screen, everybody, I put subjective lists. This is just the list from the top of my head. I only quoted like one person in this presentation. I didn't make this stuff up. I just remembered it. I call it the vault. I remembered all this stuff because I was blessed enough to use it all the time. I would have like 8,000 references for this, but I just started typing last year, and then we canceled, then I had to bring it back. But with the leisure activity categories, they don't need to be the same, specific, or distinct. Well, can't creative be relaxing? Thank you, dear. Thanks, Lane. In other words, it's leisure, so it doesn't have, well, this is physical, it can't be social. Of course it can be both. This is leisure, we can be free. You can make up your own category. If you notice, I have the food one. I'm just a foodaholic. I never had a cake I didn't like. I love to eat. So you can make categories for your own leisure, for your folks' leisure, based on their interests and what they like to do. And as we all know, non-traditional leisure activities, volunteering, singing in the shower. Does anybody ever sing in public and get caught? Anyway, so
I'm more of the person that is in the car blasting the music and then someone goes by me and gives me the look like, what is this lady doing?
I'm going to tell a quick story. Robin, I hope you don't mind. I was driving to the Lake Placid conference, and once I got off at Watertown, I'm going through these 2-lane roads, and this blonde is following me. Every time I'm turning, it's the blonde. Well, I pull into a gas station in the middle of the Adirondacks, and the blonde turns in. It's Robin Gallagher. She goes, I knew it was you because I saw the Buffalo Bills stickers on the car. I saw the marriage equality stickers, and I saw you dancing. I mean, I guess that would be, there she is. Remember that, Robin? But I'm wondering, a non-traditional leisure activity, singing when I'm driving, taking a mini vacation, daydreaming in line.
I'm pretty sure you were dancing while you were driving.
I was dancing, one hand on the wheel dancing. I'm a dork, people. I love the disco. I love the disco too. But this non-traditional part of the non-traditional leisure activities, like sometimes I just like to, in February, especially, and I should do it more all year long, and sometimes I do, I just Google unsung heroes of the civil rights movement. How many times was Agnes Moorehead nominated for an Academy Award? She was a Bewitched mother, if you're old enough to remember Bewitched. You know, I look up old celebrities, civil rights stuff, I rehearse stuff. I practice my karaoke at home, which drives my other half crazy. I love it. Sometimes I was doing it during COVID. I had rehearsals all the time. And then I told myself I'm exercising my intercostal muscles. Those are the muscles that hold your ribs together. I had to look it up because I didn't know. But I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to have a little rehearsal. I'm going to sing some songs. I'm going to try out some new songs. Non-traditional leisure activities that aren't time defined. Part of the definition of leisure. And of course, the activity needs to be enjoyable for it to be leisure as we'll get into that state of mind. And that is the third part of, and we've also talked about this, the leisure choice is based on their benefit to you. And I just listed a whole bunch of benefits. And this just came out of my head. I know they're kind of skewed to the mental health world because that's where I work. And I thought, I wonder if we in our lives can pick leisure activities, our leisure stuff, based on its benefit, if you have time. Because I know people are working full time, and I know a lot of you have families. I didn't have a family, and so I had more disposable time. But I'm wondering if someone says, you know, I need to be a little nicer person. Maybe I should find a leisure activity I could be nice at. Or maybe I want to be a little bit, pardon my French, I want to be a little less bitchy when I'm under stress. Maybe I should find somebody. I get that way sometimes. I'm working on it. When you're stressed, don't take it out on other people. Because once we identify something that we want to do, it's more likely to happen. I didn't make that up. I read it, I think it was when I was doing patience. I was looking at patience, and it said if you identify that you want to be more patient, it's more likely to happen because you're thinking about it. I said, you know, it makes sense. If I want to be more patient, maybe I should pick a leisure activity that really challenges my brain. Maybe I should do a jigsaw puzzle. Not that I love puzzles. I want to work on my patience. Maybe I'll do a big project that takes a little longer. I want to work on my patience. Okay, I'm just checking the time. So another plug for leisure choices based on their benefit to us. Okay. State of mind. Has everyone heard the state of mind part of the definition of leisure in school before? I hope, well, if you have, this will be review. If you haven't, I'm glad you're here. The first part of the state of mind definition is intrinsic motivation. That the activity is chosen because we want to do it and we like it. And then we're looking at this part of the equation and saying, what if the activity was extrinsically chosen for me, but I ended up having a good time anyway? Does that make it leisure? Or does it not make it leisure because someone made me go? They made me go to my cousin's wedding and I didn't want to go, but I went and I had a blast. So what it is it is what it is. It morphed into leisure. It's just that simple. I ended up having a good time. It was leisure, even though someone my mother made me go. She did make me go. It was my cousin's wedding, but I did have a good time and I'm glad I went afterwards. So that makes it leisure. So I know that us thinking about that with our folks, and this is the biggest thing, you know, when I was working with my folks, I said, if you go to a party and it stinks, it's not leisure. It's just that simple. If someone's forcing you to do stuff, it's not leisure. If you start to like it, then it just changes into leisure. Makes sense. Only TR people think like this. Or maybe is it only me? I don't know. The next thing relates to intrinsic motivation, high perceived freedom, internal locus of control. Within the activity, there's a huge amount of individual choice as much as possible. And we know inherently that a lot of activities are chosen for us. You cannot go bowling in the middle of your street. The pins aren't there. You have to go to a bowling alley when they're open. So a lot of things are already chosen for us. But as much as possible, is there freedom within the activity, even though there are parameters around the activity? So when my friends came from Chicago, I took them to Letchworth State Park. If you've been, it's beautiful, called the Grand Canyon of the East. It's in Mount Morris, New York. But I set the day we were going. I packed the food. I picked all the stops, all the scenic stops to go to because I was familiar with. But they had a great time. So even though they didn't have the choices, is it still leisure? And you might say, well, they didn't have choices and you kind of dragged them there, but they loved it. So I vote yes. And they did. They had a wonderful, they were so impressed. I think a lot of this is common sense, isn't it? You know, even if you weren't in control of the whole activity, if you ended up having a good time, oops, I hit my table. If you ended up having a good time, then it's leisure, basically. But does this principle generalize to my overall work with people I work with, even though I'm planning the activities? Am I planning for as much choice as possible within the activities I'm planning? Guaranteed the safety. Safety trumps everything, as we all know. And decency and legality. But am I giving people the choice as much as humanly possible? This is not regimented. You want to color outside the lines, color outside the lines. You want to use different colors, you want to go bombastic, have a ball. Knock yourself out. As long as it's safe, legal, and not disgusting, go for it. And G-rated at the Disney Channel if you're working in that type of program. I used to tell people G-rated. We're at the Disney Channel. Is everybody cool with that? The state of mind so far? Intrinsic motivation, internal locus of control. Got it all in TR school. What's it called? College. This one I love. Has everyone heard about this guy, Csikszentmihalyi, Into the Flow? Of course. He's big and famous, and he comes up everywhere, not just in the definition of leisure. Every time I see, what's his first name, Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, they even asked a question about him on Jeopardy. Did you guys see it? I felt like a genius. Csikszentmihalyi on Jeopardy. Simply put, into the flow of the activity, yet the activity holds your interest. So when I go to the museum, for the first hour, I am riveted, interested, I'm loving it. Then about 61 minutes, my attention starts to go. I'm looking at the clock. I'm thinking of other stuff. It's kind of getting boring. I want to leave. Was the museum trip leisure? I see a yes, I see a no, and you're both right. The first hour was leisure, right? Because I loved it. The second hour, not so much, right? Common sense. It is what it is. When a bit of leisure slips out of the experience, whether it's the choice, the joy, the interest, the spontaneity, the love of the activity, then, you know, the leisure slips out and it's time to do something a little bit different. When we have these moments, check this out. I'm going off script. You don't have this. I get these messages from these guys, Mills. He's always sending me emails. I don't know, good stuff, good stuff. They did happy habits make a difference. Happy people do this. And they listed all these things. The first thing they listed, that happy people are happy more so than unhappy people because of their habits. The first habit, happy people experience flow often. What better way to experience flow is than by leisure? Oh my God, you're involved in the game, in the craft, in the art, in the conversation, in the coffee, in the cheesecake, in the hike, in the scenery. You're into the flow. Connect those dots of happiness. Because I know we can't be happy 24/7. But if we start creating those little periods of happiness, can we connect them up the mood, up our outlook, which can up our self-esteem all through leisure. I used to tell my folks, I'm warning you, I'm getting emotional. I used to tell my folks, don't live your diagnosis, live your life. You deserve a happy life. And I feel that leisure is one of the best ways to get there, by connecting these flow dots, these happiness dots. And I mean it with all my heart. I got through COVID because of home hobbies. I swear to God, 4 home hobbies. My other half, he goes, I'm kind of bored. I'm like, well, you need more hobbies, damn it. I wasn't bored. I wasn't having a ball, but I discovered more hiking trails. Anyway, but to the people, this flow, because you're pushing out all the stress. You're pushing out all the bad. You're pushing out all the diagnosis. And all of a sudden, your life basket is filled with more good stuff. Go do the good stuff. Go do the good stuff to help you deal with the harder stuff. Okay. Shall we move on? How was that flow thing? Did I go okay? You know, I rehearse these things. Don't you guys rehearse your presentations if you present a conference? The next thing about the definition of leisure is that the feelings associated with the activity should be positive. But let's go a little deeper. The positivity should be natural. You go to Letchworth or the Adirondacks and you say, how is the scenery? You go, ah. You're at the game. How is the game? Oh, oh, oh. You're working out. Oh, oh, oh. You know, in other words, the feeling is natural and it comes quickly. How was the book? Oh God, I loved it. How was the time you throw a friend? I couldn't stop hugging her. You know, in other words, the feelings that you get from the activity are positive, and you don't have to think a lot to think that they were good. Leisure should be that feel-good experience. It was relaxing. It was fun. I loved it. Naturally. I can't remember if they said that in school or if I added that. It should come naturally. I call it leisure noises. You know, when you see a sunset, when you're cheering on your team, I did the noises. The last part of the definition of leisure, and this is the God's honest truth, I can't remember if I added it or I read it. I think I added it. I really did. That you think that the activity was beneficial for you. In other words, during the activity or after, you say, you know what? This leisure activity was wise for me to go out. I really needed to do this. This really helped with my confidence. This was beneficial to me. It relieved some stress. It expanded my horizons. It made me closer with that friend. This was beneficial for me. Not only did I choose it, did I feel free in it? Was I into it? It felt good. Wise choice. Wise choice. Do we choose our leisure experience, again, based on the benefit and realizing that if I go forward in leisure, I will reap these benefits? In addition to the natural appeal of the activity, am I going to pick stuff based on I like it and it's beneficial? Like Patti LaBelle sings, I got a new attitude. I'm going to start thinking about leisure in a different way. I'm going to think about it completely. Benefits, feelings, and use this definition. That was just one of our objectives. You just learned the 7 parts or reviewed the 7 parts. It really helped me in my career. It's, again, one of those principles that was woven into me, the definition of leisure. Also, with this whole definition of leisure, not only can I work on my own leisure lifestyle satisfaction to up my mood in general, thus helping my outlook on life, my self-esteem, and my physical health. I was doing a presentation for the seniors on self-esteem, positive feelings about yourself. And the first thing that I just Google everything, you know, and come up with resources, not a thorough research, you know, look, like I was doing a thesis or something, but, you know, 4, 5, 6 articles. And it said, if you want to increase your self-esteem, increase your positive outlook just in general. What better way to do that than with leisure? It's wonderful. and also helps with the physical health, more so than I ever knew up until like several months ago. So the definition of leisure really helped me. We're going to go into the physical health within the next 29 minutes, as God is my witness. My second inspiration is this psychiatric rehabilitation conference. Has anybody heard about psychiatric rehabilitation? We have any mental health people here? All right, a long time ago, I worked in the continuing day treatment program in New York State. The purpose of the programs were to keep people out of the hospital and manage symptoms. And that was about it. Then as time went on, just a few years, they came up with this thing called psychiatric rehabilitation, which looked a little deeper into providing services to people that really had meaning. And it came about in the late 80s. And they wanted to gear mental health programs to be more focused on people working on their goals and where they wanted to get in life, and not just manage their symptoms to keep them out of the hospital, but make people more functional as well. So they sent me to this conference because I was one of the lead staff people at the time. And during the first session of this new thing, psych rehab, I'm going to read. Here's what they said. Oh, you guys can read too. I got the paper here. During the first session, the purpose, basic principles, and goals of psych rehab were presented. Here's what they said. The purpose of psych rehab is to work with people based on what their personal goals are and to make them the center of the rehab wheel, not the doctor, not the therapist. This is not the medical model. The person is the engineer of the train. I added that. They didn't say that. We want to give people support for as long as they need it, and for people to become as independent as possible as far as their potential takes them. We meet the person where they're at. Psych rehab is a strength-based approach so that people can achieve their life role goals utilizing their strengths. This is a person-centered approach. Well, everyone in the session is going, this is wonderful, this is great, and rightfully so. This is new, yay, 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 thumbs up. I'm sitting there thinking, this shit's not new. This is TR. This is what we learned. These were smart people. They wrote books and everything. And created this whole psych rehab, which with TR is like a marriage. All the principles listed. What you saying, TR? Person-centered, goal-focused, strength-based approach. TR all the way. And I felt that I was able to work in this setting because of the TR. Because this stuff was not new. I felt so smart. I don't know if I felt smart because it was 30 years ago, but I felt good about the knowledge base and so thankful that I was able to use my education. And all those guiding principles of TR right there, like Jess said about the goals. Oh my God, goals and objectives. Did you guys have to do a lot of goals and objectives in school? You think? But it serves us well, doesn't it? Because it gives us a purpose and a direction for the services. When they added, the Office of Mental Health said this: you need to put the people's strengths in the treatment plan. Like, are you kidding me? Another thing? We got to do objectives. Everything's got to be measurable. You got to do the history, the assessments. Now we got to add strengths. I know a lot of my coworkers just said, okay, she's nice, she's determined, throw it on the treatment plan, let's get on to the goals. Because we have to. Because if OMH reviewed a treatment plan and it wasn't there, you don't get billed. You can't pay for services. So I'm thinking about the strengths. I'm thinking, wait, there's a reason I'm putting someone's strengths in there. I want to make it work for the person. I'm going to give you an example, everybody. I'm working with this woman, and she's very intelligent. She knows every pop rock song ever, but most importantly, when it comes to navigating a problem for her child, with school, with the doctors, with her ex, she problem solves, she navigates, she advocates. With her own agoraphobia and anxiety and depression, not so much. So I'm going, Lucy, let's look at your strengths and how to meet this goal of gaining more social confidence. You are a smart person. Look how you navigate with your son. You do all this. Plus, you're so friggin' popular, everybody loves you. And she looks at me after I said, you're so smart, you take care of your son so well. Here's what she said to me. No one's ever told me I was smart. I don't know if this came from me or if it came from TR. I think it came from both. But I think because of the passion and the genuineness of why we entered the field, and I know a lot of other professionals have that on other teams, but this TR thing just, connected. And you know some of the stuff that folks have said to you or their reactions to your program? And you're just like, oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. So this whole strength-based approach, I don't know if my coworkers used it like I did. Who had time to talk to everybody about their treatment plans? I had all this other stuff to do. But the strength-based approach really helped not only to fulfill a documentation obligation, but to really show the person that they did have strengths, and let's use your strengths to get by. I had another guy that was a troublemaker. Oh my God. But that guy could bounce back like you wouldn't believe. One time he got in trouble. He's in my office and said, you know what? I said, you're the best bouncer backer I ever met. If you use this energy, your resiliency, as much as you used to get in trouble, you'd really be flying high, kid. And it really cemented our bonds because his strength was real. His strength was real. Okay. Leisure lifestyle. Are people familiar with leisure lifestyle? This is from an old book, the Peterson-Stumbo book. Has anyone seen the Peterson-Stumbo book? Carol Peterson was my advisor, people. This is how I grew up. I was afraid of her. I mean, what a chicken. And I went to school at Stumbo. It was great. It was like the people were still using electric typewriters. So anyway, leisure lifestyle, and I'm reading from the book. This is the one thing I did quote. Leisure lifestyle is the day-to-day expression of one's leisure-related attitudes, awareness, and activities revealed within the context and composite of the total life experience. I have no idea what the total composite life experience is. I wish they would have said, it's how we weave leisure into your day, which is what it means to me. How we weave leisure, and we've said it before. That's my leisure lifestyle. And a satisfactory leisure lifestyle, and we're reading from them, is when you have the skills and the attitudes, the knowledge, the abilities to do your leisure stuff successfully and to be happy about it. But I think even if it's not so successful, at least you have, if you have the wherewithal to say, how can I make it better next time? Because it's not always going to be successful. But we don't want to bag on an activity just because it didn't work the first time. How can I make it better? Because it is a process. Process takes time, energy, trial and error, evaluation. So I love the fact of the leisure lifestyle, weaving leisure into people's lives, weaving leisure into our lives. Okay. And to help people get there was paramount in my work. I always had that in my work, no matter what the group was. I was lucky because no one on the team said to me, what makes you qualified to lead the stress management group? You're the recreation therapist. No one ever said that. But I would pull out that functional intervention from the leisure ability model and say, see right here? If stress is what is preventing people from enjoying their leisure, it's in my area, so mind your own beeswax. So I use that leisure ability model, and I know that there's a variety of leisure models that I hope people are using and embracing to support your services and your belief in the profession. I came up with this approach. It's called the 4P approach, of looking at people's leisure life. People, places, pursuits, perception. I stole it from the leisure ed model. They have the social skills, the community resources, the activity skills, and the leisure awareness. It's kind of the same deal, but knowing those 4 areas helped me so much. A TR guiding principle, leisure ed, weaving it into people's lives and seeing how it can work and digging deeper. And not just saying, you need to have a social life, you need to get out more. Well, duh. Let's work on the nuts and bolts of how. That's what we do. That's what we do. These principles I love. Leisure motivation, social comfort, social motivation, leisure scheduling, get out motivation, and debriefing. Got this all from TR. We could run out groups where I used to work, but it had to be medically necessary, tied to the treatment plan. So it just wasn't like field trip. People had to have some kind of social anxiety, community anxiety, and then we could go to places that they identified that they wanted to function better at. Like, I want to shop better. I want to join the Y. I want to be able to go bowling and not freak out. So we do some of those places. And always beforehand talk about skills, debrief after, have a monthly big meeting with debriefing. I know people didn't like it, but I know that once they got into that group process, that thing, they said, we don't want to fill out the sheets because when we talk about it, then it really sinks home with us. So we can the sheets if it's more powerful for them to identify how they're progressing. But then I thought, why go to a place that people identified as stressful every time? I need to put in some gentle places, some nice places, some parks, quiet places where we're the only ones at, so that people can get used to going out. That leisure motivation, that it can give you a lot of happiness just to go to someplace pleasant, someplace nice, someplace uncrowded, in addition to the places you've identified, like stores, coffee shops, restaurants, bowling alley, workout places, church. That all came from TR just thinking, God, I gotta have some gentle stuff for these folks. Because they really, have you ever been in a store with a person who's having a panic attack and crying? It really tugs at you. I mean, people can't do, things that we take for granted. And these are beautiful people, and she looked great, smart, intelligent, shaking in my arms. Anyway, so those principles really stuck with me. And I don't think I would have gotten those principles out TR. So when people subbed for me when I was on vacation, you know what the folks said. Maureen, my coworker, Maureen is fine, but the guys, they don't do it like you do it. They don't stay with us. They don't debrief us, no matter how much I prep them. They're from different disciplines. We dig deeper. I think we dig deeper. And I know when I was a sub for other people's groups, I dug deeper because of TR. And I'd ask the folks, if Katie's on vacation, if you don't want me to sub for this group, tell Katie. Katie was my coworker. But if you think I did okay, I'll gladly come back. I think that group process, TR taught me that. Let the people give me honest feedback. Because I used to tell people, can you believe it? One person told me, I can only take one of your groups a day. One guy said, I need 10 cups of coffee just to keep up with you, Marty. So I know that sometimes I needed to tone it down. Whereas other people, I was like the Pied Piper. Aren't we like the Pied Pipers? In our own way. Some of us are quiet Pied Pipers. Some of us are enthusiastic Pied Pipers. A lot of us are a little bit of both, aren't we? So those were more of my principles. Okay. My last inspiration. These are the chemicals. You've all heard of them? Endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. I know all this stuff happened. We all know about the endorphins, don't we? And the dopamine and the serotonin and the oxytocin. So when I retired, I called Lifespan. I said, Michelle, she was head of one of the programs, do you ever need a speaker on like wellness and leisure stuff? Come on in. So I've been there ever since. And I have these weekly gigs now on the phone with one group. Anyway, to make a long story short, I came in doing the groups that I was used to doing. Coping with stress, worry control, leisure equals wellness. A different version of this was always my first one. Leisure equals wellness. Coping when you're down, coping with aging, feeling good about yourself. Because I had that stuff from groups, self-esteem, resiliency. Then she says, can you do something about the benefits of being outside? Can you do something about the benefits of singing? Could you do a laughter session? I'm like, back to the drawing board. I got to do new stuff. And boy, did I learn a lot. Did I learn a lot. Here's my recipe for these new topics. And the new topics and the old topics are listed here. And please email me. I'd love to hear from you. So here's my recipe for these topics with the seniors. Like say it was patience. You identify what patience is, and that's easy, the definition. Then you list out the benefits of being patient. You know, you Google articles, the benefits of being patient. Then you identify strategies people can use to become more patient, so it's more usable for them. And not so much on the benefits, because that can get dry. Well, when I was doing kindness, benefits, singing, being outside, laughing, humming, gratitude, so many times was brought up one of these 4 chemicals and cardiovascular health related to these things. And all these categories, leisure or laced with leisure. All the feel-good chemicals were there. And so many times when I type in medical benefits of singing, medical benefits of humming, medical benefits of being outside, cardiovascular health came up almost all the time, regularly. And I was like, oh my goodness, I knew the body and the mind and the spirit and our action were all related. I didn't realize how much that a lot of the things that we do promote cardiovascular health. Has anyone heard of the vagus nerve? I heard about it, but I had to look it up. I guess it's this big nerve that connects to a lot of your organs, and it's really good to stimulate it. And isn't that good? Susan's shaking her head, yes. I know this is a layman's definition, but a lot of stuff comes up with all this heart healthy stuff and with leisure. Boy, when I did that benefits of singing, I didn't realize the breathing, the lungs, the blood flow, the circulation, the heart rate variability. I guess that's the time in between the beats of your heart. I guess the more time in between is good. I guess, except not a lot of time. It can't beat like 1 time a minute. But you know, if it doesn't. And all these things promote all those good things and all those good body chemicals. So, because I didn't read, I kind of just went off the top of my head. There was, I'm flipping pages. So I actually got these things together and did a presentation for a few of the senior groups on healthy hearts. Here's how to have a healthy heart. Gratitude, kindness, singing, humming, laughing, smiling, hobbies. Exercise and activity level was only one thing. And have you all heard this? If you work out for 45 minutes a day and do nothing else, not good. You need to have an overall active lifestyle in addition to the exercise. What better thing to lead? Get off your caboose and do something. Here's what I found about stress. This was new. After working in the field of mental health for 33 years and 2 weeks, I found this out just like within the last several months. Here's what this article on stress said. When we're under stress, and Americans are always like, you deal with that stress, you plow through it. Because when we're functioning under stress, when we're able to complete our tasks under stress, which we all are, the body is still in stress mode, and it's not good for your internal organs or your heart. So when you're plowing through, we're actually doing ourselves a disservice to the body, because the body says I'm stressed, and chronically terrible, from what the article said. Like I said, I did not do thorough research. This is several articles, on each topic, 5 or 6 on each topic, but it came up that we need, it even comes up in, have you guys heard the book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff? It even comes up in Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. We need to not raise our tolerance for stress, but lower our tolerance for stress. As soon as we feel stress coming on, we need to intervene. Take a mini break, take some breaths, sing a song. I know it's not possible all the time. We need to weave those stress management techniques in ourselves to ward off the stress, because we do have a lot of things to do, and be mindful of the stress and not say I have to work until I crap out. We all know the struggle. Have you ever worked along and then someone says, do you need help? Well, it doesn't look like I need help. I was like, oh my God. Oops, we didn't handle that well, did we? One time I told someone on the phone that was asking for money, I told them to F off. You call me at dinner time and ask me for money, blah, 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 F you. After that, I said to myself, because it's TR, well, that didn't go too well, did it? I think I need to do that. And I'm wondering if this evaluation of what we do and moving forward through things, I call it, well, I stole this from an old professor, failing forward through things, TR, evaluating and going through. So this managing stress and using leisure to manage stress and weave it into our life, I felt was so important. Okay, the last thing. This negative and positive thinking, you guys all know what synapses are, right? That stuff that connects in your head. I would be so terrible. I was so terrible at science. I would like pray to pass, you know. But anyway, what they said about this negative thinking is that when you think negative, those synapses like fire and they grow closer together. And that means once you start having a negative thought, you're more likely to think more negatively overall. And then the negative thoughts will come more quicker because you're wired to think negatively. It's like a bad friggin' habit. You know, Connie's a complainer. You know, gloomy Gus, bitter Betty. You know, I mean, that happens. But they said conversely, positive thinking, the same thing. Those synapses fire. And what more way to feel more positive by being into the flow of a wonderful leisure pursuit, wonderful social connection. So I'm wondering, even small techniques. You guys have heard about the nerve from the smile? There's a nerve that actually makes you feel better when you smile. And humming is good too. There's all this stuff that's so good for our moods. It's just out there, and leisure is just woven in, laced with it. All right. It's 5 to 9. What I did at the end is I just asked you for your TR inspirations, your TR principles, and then I listed my TR principles on the copy of the presentation. If anybody wants it, you know, free of charge, of course. But anyway, does anyone have comments, questions, you know, feedback? I was nervous about this presentation because I didn't have the slides. Thank you, Jess, for doing this. Jess and Sherry treat me like a rock star. They're so sweet.
You treat everybody like a rock star, let's be honest.
I'm like the uncle they never knew they always wanted. It's wonderful. But does anyone have any comments, questions? This was okay. Is it medium? That's my email. Email me there and
I really appreciated your session because I think it brings us back to the principles that we learned long ago in college that we need to get back to, of thinking more realistic about what's good for people and getting back to the simple things that they need help with, like stress management or relaxation exercises, whatever that is. I think we overthink things too much.
Thank you. Thank you, Crystal. Crystal, you've been a lot of my sessions, not my sessions, we've been a lot of the same sessions together. Yeah, so Robin, was I Leisure Larry? Am I still your Leisure Larry? She used to call me Leisure Larry at work.
You sure are.
God, I love this stuff. Thank you too, Matthew. Thank you. I know, I appreciate it. I know a lot of you guys are working. Is everyone working except me? Oh, thank you, Donna. I appreciate it. I really do. I love positive feedback. I love a compliment, but I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Because I was nervous about this. I couldn't sleep last night.
Oh,
I mean, I slept, but you know, has anyone ever woke up like 3 o'clock in the morning and you're like, oh damn it. And then you go back to sleep and then you wake up at 4:30. Oh damn it. Oh,
Yeah, I told Sherry yesterday or a couple days ago when I moderated a session, I was like, I was so nervous to just moderate. I don't know why. What is going on? It's because we're like on this technology stuff and we're like, this isn't familiar.
I know, and then yesterday, I emailed the girls yesterday, I'm like, I don't have any slides, can we email the presentation beforehand, what are we gonna do? And they said, don't worry, we just put it up there if you want it. Have a pleasant evening, treat yourself to good stuff. We do good work, we work hard. Yeoman service.
Donna said she works in a nursing home and this made her realize that she needs to think more about the benefits for the residents when planning along with their leisure interests.
I hope it works. You know, it's so hard. Did you guys ever go to conferences and like it's so bad and then you go to work and then the first thing that hits you like, oh God, I was in such a high at the conference, now this. But then you kind of bounce back and remember, okay, get to the good plan. Because the people notice. The people notice. They really do, don't they?
Yeah.
Who's good? What groups are better? Uh-huh. Who provides structure and fun? Who's prepared and organized and light and joyful and genuine? We are.
Does anyone have any other comments or questions for Marty?
You can email me anytime with questions.
So I listed his email in the chat and it's also on the screen. If you have not commented your name, please do so. I also did write down attendance as well, just in case anybody forgets. And just make sure to also send in your attestation form before June 13th. Okay?
Hey, Jess, I'll email you because I don't know if the speaker, you know, how we get credit, if we get the same credit. I'll email you guys.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you guys enough. I love the smiling faces. Hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow at the session.
Thank you so much, Marty. This was great.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
thanks, Marty.
Thanks, Robin. Say hi to Tom.
Peace out.
Peace out. Peace out, baby. May the force be with you.